Hello, and welcome back to the Goodness Margin, the place where we find margin for the good things in life. On Instagram, I put out a question. What do you want to know about the holidays? What are some things that I can talk about on my YouTube videos? What's a little bit sad is over half of those responses were to survive or how to find margin in the holidays, but the word survive was in there a lot. We love Thanksgiving and Christmas. Typically, if you ask people their favorite holidays, they're going to say it's going to be Thanksgiving or Christmas. It's the most wonderful time of the year, right? Unfortunately, there can be a lot of stress that surrounds this time of year. And so today I just want to share with you some tips to survive this time of year. Maybe a simplified survival guide if you want to. But definitely to add margin in those holidays, it doesn't have to be like this. We can definitely make a few decisions that can greatly affect the way we feel about this time of year. And so today I just want to share a few of those with you. My first tip is to keep certain routines. Sure, it's Christmas time. The kids get out of school early. You get off work. Typically, it's not a really busy time for most of us with our jobs. And so we have that extra room and maybe we just want to take time off and completely relax. But I have found there is a lot of value in keeping a few of my routines in place. One of those is my morning routine. And one thing that I really enjoy when the kids are out of school and when work isn't so hectic is that I can take a little bit more time with my morning routine, with that quiet time I have in the morning. Maybe I can spend a little bit more time reading more of the Word of God. I can also add a book to that time. Normally that time can kind of feel sometimes a little bit restricted because I know I've got to go on to get the kids up and get them ready for school and all of that. But during the holidays, we can enjoy that morning routine and really kind of value that time just a little bit more, giving ourselves just a little more space in our day. The other routine that I definitely want to hold on to is a simplified version of my cleaning routine. Probably won't spend a lot of extra time doing deep cleaning during the week of Christmas or even the week of Thanksgiving, but I want to keep up with my simple cleaning routine of Monday bathrooms, Tuesday the bedrooms, vacuum and dusting, and then Wednesday taking care of the downstairs. I may not even do them on those days. I may move those around according to what's happening, but I want to keep that basic home cleaning routine in place. And that way, my home is going to stay tidy. My home is going to stay clean. And that is something that's going to make me feel a lot better during this season that could be a little bit more stressful. I'm also going to continue to try to do one load of laundry a day. And that way, laundry isn't piling up and I don't feel stressed about that. So just those little things that I can continue to do. And then, of course, my evening nightly pickup. I love to do that. And that way, the next day, I'm going to feel really good. Clutter's not going to build up at my house, especially because we're going to be home more. It's Christmas time. I want to enjoy my home. And so just keeping a few of those simple routines really can make a big difference. Number 2 is to protect your peace. Know what you need. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? What energizes you? Maybe you're an extrovert and it's energizing for you to be around a lot of people. And so if that's the case, then say yes to all of those holiday parties. Find the time to be with all the people you want to be with and do all of those things. But maybe if you're an introvert and you are energized with that alone time, you need that. Be sure to protect that time. I really enjoy that quiet alone time that I have in the mornings. And so even if we're staying at a family member's home for the holidays, I will be sure to stay in my room a little bit longer in the mornings and enjoy that time that I have alone, go by myself for a little bit and read a book. It's not that I don't love my family. I don't love the people I'm with. It's just I'm naturally an introvert and I need that time alone. I'm not energized by being with people all the time. So just be honest with yourself. Protect your peace. What are the things that you need to just take a few minutes and be intentional about taking care of those things, like being alone or finding people to be with if that's what energizes you. Third thing, and I think this is really important, is to make your expectations clear. Not just your expectations, but what someone else's expectations are. So if you have an expectation for the holiday, say you envision this magical evening where you want your family to do a certain thing, you need to communicate that to your spouse. This is what I really want to get out of tonight. My husband knows going to see Christmas lights is important to me. I love it. I love when we're all in the car together as a family and we're spending that time together. I have verbalized that to him. He's not going to get it just by like my brainwave going over there and telling him. I have to say that to him. And so if you want something to happen during this time of the year, Verbalize it to your spouse, verbalize it to your family. And the same thing, if I'm going to my mom's house for Christmas and maybe I'm not exactly sure, I can't remember what we discussed, I'm going to take the time to say, hey, Mom, can you remind me again exactly what I'm going to bring? We do it every other year at my mom's house. My sister and myself and my mom, we will all sit down and we will write out the menus for Christmas Eve and for Christmas Day. And we will discuss who is bringing what. And then we each have a copy of that. And that way we are crystal clear and no one is showing up not having what they needed or finding out that, oh my goodness, I was supposed to bring homemade cinnamon rolls and I don't find out until Christmas morning. And then, you're just out of luck at that point, right? Ask those questions for clarity. What do you need me to bring to this? Or this is what I can bring. These are the options. Would you like me to bring this or this? If we don't communicate, if we don't let our expectations be known and ask others what their expectations are, we are setting ourselves up for a stressful time. This is really important. You communicate. You can't do that enough. Number 4 is sometimes a little hard for some of us, but it's say no when you need to. Sometimes we can't say yes to every single thing. In fact, typically we can't say yes to every single thing. So many times during this time of the year, there are things that are booked on a Friday night. There may be 2 options. I can't say yes to both of those. And so sometimes I have to say no to something. One of the things we may have to say no to is certain Christmas gifts. Just because someone purchases a present for you doesn't mean you have to purchase one in return. If that wasn't in your budget, you can let them know, thank you so much. If you feel like you need to give them something in return, maybe you can plan a coffee date or you can bring them some cookies, maybe something that's not quite as expensive. We don't have to say yes to everything. Otherwise, we're going to be overextending our time and our money. So be okay. Learn to sometimes I have to say no. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you thinking of me, but unfortunately right now I just have to say no to this. And the last tip, I sort of touched on this earlier, but you have to be intentional about what the things that you enjoy, the things that you want to do. We have to be intentional if I'm going to spend time with just my family, if we're going to talk about the real reason for Christmas and not just be running around crazy like chickens with our heads cut off, we're doing all the things. If I want to be intentional about talking about the true meaning of Christmas, about doing some acts of goodwill, I have to be intentional about that. That's why it's so important that we take the time to plan these things out, to think about what we have to do. I talked about it in my video that I did earlier this month, and I'll actually link that here for you. Take the time to write out the things that you want to get done, write out the things that you want to do, and we have to be intentional about putting those things on the calendar. And then I'm going to add one little bonus thing here. If you have kids, especially if you have young kids, this is where we really have to be intentional. The holidays are so much fun and there is so much happening, but sometimes we have to know what our kids need before they even realize it. I know that kids can get overstimulated. There's so much happening. And so sometimes maybe if you're at a family member's house and there's so many people and there's all the things happening and you can tell your kid is kind of getting to that point where a meltdown is on its way and they might not want to go to their room by themselves or go up to your room by yourself with them. Maybe say, hey, I need to run this errand. I want you to go with me. We're going to swing through and get a hot chocolate, or we're going to go in the store and look for a gift for someone, but you come with me. We're going to come away for just a little bit, have some mama and me time, because our young kids especially really need that. Whether they say they want to or not, they may leave the house kicking and screaming, but we know what is important, what is necessary for them. Another thing is to think about food during this time. I have a couple of funny stories with my son. He, at a young age, had trouble gauging when he had too much sugar. I mean, he would just consume. And we really didn't eat that much sugar on a regular basis. And so we were at a family's home and he was too little to reach the treats. And there were a ton of us there, grandparents, aunts and uncles, large extended family. And later he was complaining about his stomach and then eventually got sick. And so we started talking about it and realized that he would stand right beside that dessert spot where there were jars of candies and all these things and cakes. And he would so sweetly ask someone if they would hand him something. And of course they would, because he was adorable. And then they would go on and the next person would come and he would ask them. So he was getting a sugary treat from every single person who was there. And he got so sick. I tried to realize, okay, that's coming. Let's just be sure that he's eating some really good quality food, some protein before we get to this event. So, because I know he's going to have a lot of sugar, and this way he'll be too full to have too much sugar. Realize that kids are going to have more sweets than normal, but try to watch out for those kinds of things and be gentle on yourself if your kid is kind of having a meltdown because they've had so much stimulation from all the people and all the sugar, and also be gentle on them. I hope that these tips will help you. This doesn't have to be a season that we have to just think we're surviving through. I want us to thrive in this season. And I think if we're intentional and we think ahead and we plan ahead and we try to think ahead of the things that we need, the things that we want out of this season, that we can truly thrive in this season and find all kinds of margin for the good things. I hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a wonderful Christmas.